Welcome to the South African Morning. Now, our focus this morning is the energy crisis. Power cuts affect small businesses on a large scale. However, it also has an impact on the mental well-being of small business owners. Let's discuss this now with mental health activist Dr. Sam Zuma-Fidelis. Thank you so much, Doc, for your time, and good morning to you. I have to ask this. Is it possible as a business owner to right now go through the 5 stages of grief? I know that this is usually associated with losing a loved one, but surely business owners have felt anger, they have felt being in denial, bargaining, some level of, depression, and thinking, okay, let's just accept that this is the new way of life and this is the new way of doing business. Could that be a possibility?
Good morning to Meadow. Good morning to your viewers. I believe it's a strong case of loss that business owners go through. Remember, their businesses are their babies. So in some way or another, they are losing something. So most of these things, when load shedding happens, when this crisis happens, people go into a shock. People are anxious. People are feeling a sense of uncertainty. And that is also associated with loss or death. And navigating business and being creative at this time becomes such a great challenge.
How overburdened do they feel right now? Most of them have just survived COVID-19 as a pandemic. Some have even lost their businesses. They're trying to recuperate. And then you have stage 6 power cuts also further threatening the survival of their businesses. What could they be possibly going through right now?
They're possibly going through a heavy burden, a mental block, and some form of depression, because at this stage they are really feeling hopeless. Is business gonna go back to normal? Is business gonna do the way they were doing financially? And are the people that they have been employing gonna come back and get their jobs and business will be running like before? But seemingly, with the uncertainty and turmoil of the constant drain and stages of loss of the load shedding stages, we really wouldn't know where they are going. Yeah. So I think I believe that they're probably depressed and anxious, and this is the time where I believe they should be getting some counseling. They should be seeking for some advice, not just for their businesses, for themselves. Remember, the business is run by a person, and once the person is not happy or mentally stable, it will show in their business. It will show in the lack of creativity. It will also show in the productivity or lack of productivity in the business.
And Doc, I'm glad you mentioned that they need help, because I often hear that entrepreneurship can be the loneliest journey that one can walk alone, right? So what help is available for them? Where do they knock? Because entrepreneurs, I can imagine, feel like they're problem solvers. They don't want to burden people with problems. They want to provide solutions. So there might be a sense of helplessness right now with the advent of, power cuts and blackouts that we're seeing, where they can't operate and, feed their families and also assist their employees. So where can they start knocking to receive that help that you speak about?
I think the best way, or the first stop, is your local clinic. Whichever area that you are in, there's a clinic, and in that clinic there are psychologists. If there's not a psychologist, there's a psychiatrist. But remember, during this time, people are not even patient to be waiting in queues, whether it's in public sector or even in private sector. Nowadays, we have the depression line, which is www.depression.com, where you can even get virtual assistance, virtual counseling, and you can talk to someone. And also, sometimes business owners don't really want to share their struggles with people. And sometimes the best way is to share your struggles with someone else who's going through the same thing or who's been through the same thing. And that is why it's also important for people to have mentors, people who are already ahead of them, and people who already equip them through the journeys and the pitfalls of being a business owner. Yeah. So there's so many resources which are available. I think it's really dependent on the business owner themselves, because it's not a one solution for all. We all deal with trauma, we all deal with emotion and loss in a different way. So whichever way that will work for you. And it's important to be proactive. I mean, when we are in this position now, we need to also be planning when it happens in the next 6 months, when it happens in the next 3 months, so that when it comes, we feel as if we've got some sense of control over the way our lives are going, over the way we're running our business, and
Right.
over the way even how we think, our emotions and behavior.
Yeah.
Remember, mental health has to do with the way we think, our emotions, and our behavior. And the sooner we think positively, the sooner we find ways to be creative, we are already managing our mental health. The sooner we know how to even manage our very daily emotions, we are on the right path to ensuring that our mental health is on the right path.
Yeah.
And we are ensuring that we stay abased with everything that happens in our
Absolutely.
country and in our community.
I couldn't agree more with you, Doc. Before I let you go, though, briefly, if you may, we spoke about the support that the entrepreneur, the small business owner needs. Once they have received that help for themselves, what sort of support can they offer then to their employees who are equally filled with anxiety, afraid of losing their jobs, looking to that business owner as for some sort of security to say everything is going to be okay? How can they offer that support to their employees right now?
I think the best way to offer the support, remember, in bigger companies, there are already wellness programs. So I believe as a small business owner, you can also just mimic or copy some of what the wellness programs are. That's the first step if there's no financial resource for you to help your employees. Secondly, it's also just to send your employees to a local counselor. And counseling in community settings is normally free, unless you are going to a private institute. And we're living in a world where we're in the internet phase. So there's so much resources as well virtually that they could recommend to their employees so that they also take care of their mental health and they can be productive in their work environment.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to us this morning. Quite important to think of the small business owner and the employees affected by these power cuts. Dr. Sam Zungu Fidelis, thank you so much. The founder of Health Wealth Forum and Enabling Health Inc., giving some sound advice on what you can do if you are feeling that your mental health is challenged, just trying to figure out what your next step is due to these power cuts.